It's a world away from the bustle of the big city, the little town of Narrowsburg, New York. A rustic little hideaway.
It's a very beautiful and old town and built on lumber and dairy farms, and now is really kind of a second home owning hamlet.
It's exactly what cheery young mom Catherine Novak was looking for to raise her family.
She was a devoted mother, very modest, very cheerful, the kind of mother who would donate her time to the classroom, who would donate her time to watching other people's kids.
Catherine is raising her 2 young kids in this old farmhouse, along with her husband Paul, an emergency medical technician still working 2 hours south in New York City.
When he showed up, he was usually wearing a uniform, so I thought perhaps he had done some heroic things. I assumed that he was a fine and upstanding citizen.
Paul and Catherine met years before in the hardcore life of the EMT service. She was the sweet, shy volunteer. He was the first responder with a powerful presence.
The first responder world is not something that people who aren't first responders really understand. You're dealing with life and death every minute. It's kind of a subculture.
But raising kids in the big city is too much for Catherine. The family moves upstate to Narrowsburg to get away from it all. And for Catherine, it's a breath of fresh air.
She was a kind of a born volunteer. She worked at the church, she worked at the school. She liked to give her time to the community, not just her children, but to the community.
But Paul still craves the high adrenaline world of the first responder. He spends several nights a week in the city rather than brave a 4-hour round-trip commute.
But Catherine was not a complainer, and Catherine did not complain to her friends about Paul.
But soon enough, the strain between the city and country is pulling their marriage apart. Late one night, it breaks.
The phone rings in the middle of the night, and it's a woman on the other end calling for Paul.
The other woman is Michelle LaFrance, a younger, newer EMT trainee.
That phone call corroborated what she had suspicions about.
Catherine's suspicions are now crystal clear.
He had told her that he did not want to be with her anymore, he didn't love her, and he wanted out.
Paul heads back to the hustle of New York City for good, shacking up with his new girlfriend, splitting custody of the kids, and leaving Catherine a nervous wreck.
Catherine was so concerned about her kids' well-being that she actually took Michelle out to lunch at the diner in Narrowsburg and was very friendly with her, just trying to figure out whether she was capable, trustworthy, and working out with her how she wanted those children to be taken care of. And that's the kind of mother that she was, that she would actually sit down with this girl and have a conversation with her and eat a meal with her, making sure that she knew how to take care of the children.
Then, on a cold December morning, any chance of an amicable split comes crashing down. It's 6:30 a.m. A neighbor awakens to find Catherine's house consumed in flames.
She looks outside and she can see the entire house is fully engulfed in fire.
The neighbor calls 911. Firefighters race to Catherine's home deep in the woods. But it's too late. The house is obliterated. The burning wreckage collapsed into the basement.
Just looking at the scene, they weren't able to tell what had happened. The house was burned to almost nothing.
The big question on everybody's mind, fire service, the arson people, the neighborhood, was where was Catherine?
Then, a terrible sight.
In the basement, lying on the floor, Catherine's body severely burnt.
Thankfully, Catherine's beloved children are safe at Paul's apartment in New York, but Catherine has died in the fire alone.
When her body was found, that was really catastrophic to the community. When you have a fire like that, and then when you have a death like this, it resonates very strongly.
Investigators painstakingly search for the cause of the fire and what remains of the house.
They took apart this house for the better part of 2 days, piece by piece by piece.
It's not long before they uncover some odd clues at the scene. The state of Catherine's body is raising serious red flags.
She was found lying on her back, but that's not the way you would find somebody who was killed in a fire, because you would see them in a more fetal position and also in a position that would reflect that they were struggling to find a place to get out.
And there's something even more puzzling. In the basement, close to where Catherine's body is found, lies another body, the family dog.
The dog had been locked in a kennel and had smoke in its lungs. It had died of smoke inhalation.
Unlike her dog, Catherine's autopsy shows no smoke, no lethal levels of carbon monoxide.
Her lungs did not show that she had been inhaling the smoke.
That can only mean one thing. Catherine died before the fire even started.
And then suddenly, the circumstances surrounding her death changed dramatically.
And Catherine's autopsy shows something even more alarming. 3 dislocated ribs and a strange pooling of blood.
Dead people don't bleed. People who are alive do. Finding the hemorrhage around the fracture sites reflected that she was injured and bleeding at some point before she died. It became even clearer to us that we had a very highly suspicious death here.
Coming up, where there's no smoke, there's murder.
Some people in the town were suspicious immediately.
A vengeful husband, a jealous mistress, or someone else.
She told us for the first time the name that we've never heard before.
My immediate instinct was that she had been murdered, just because I'm a journalist and because I knew that she was involved in this divorce, and I just assumed something suspicious about this.